Sheetal is directeur van Lybra Training, Coaching en Consulting. Zij is een ervaren professional met een uitgebreide achtergrond in het aanbieden van professionele ontwikkelingsprogramma's aan individuen, teams en zakelijke organisaties. Haar expertise omvat gebieden als productiviteit, teambuilding, emotionele intelligentie, persoonlijkheidsbeoordeling en digitale transformaties. Gemotiveerd door een diep gewortelde passie om individuen en organisaties te helpen hun volledige potentieel te bereiken, heeft Sheetal zich toegewijd aan het leveren van trainingen en coaching van de hoogste kwaliteit en blijft zij innovatieve oplossingen bieden aan klanten in Suriname en daarbuiten. Als moeder van 2 waardeert Sheetal een gebalanceerd leven. Naast haar professionele verplichtingen is ze een gepassioneerde schilder. En geniet ze van verkennen van nieuwe culturen en landschappen tijdens haar reizen. In haar vrije tijd besteedt Sheetal aandacht aan lezen en journalen, waarbij ze reflecteert op haar ervaringen en nieuwe inzichten opdoet. En vandaag gaat ze enkele ervaringen met ons delen. Sheetal, the floor is yours. En wat ik nog moet aangeven, Sheetal zal Engels spreken, maar de vragen en de opmerkingen die mogen straks allemaal in het Nederlands.
All right. Okay, I guess this is on. Good evening, everyone. Are you ready for this? Yes. Perfect. So, I want to tell you a story about something that's happened about 15 years ago. It wasn't when I was an entrepreneur, but it was what made me an entrepreneur. And surprisingly enough, that this big mistake led to my career today. So let me share with you something that happened. I used to work at a career services office at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. This was when I was still living in Miami. And I used to be a student employment manager. What that means is that I used to coach students one-on-one. I would guide them. I would let them know what they should do for their life. They would come to me for coaching sessions. And the other part of my job was to collect information on evaluations. Were students happy with us? Were they happy with all the other coaches? Were we doing a good job as an office to ensure that they were getting their next job? Things like that. So I dealt with a lot of statistics and things like that. And I would attend the workshops of my colleagues. Now, I was not a trained trainer. I didn't do public speaking. I didn't go to sessions where I spoke to hundreds of students. That was not my thing. My colleagues, on the other hand, they had master's degrees, they had PhDs, they were like advanced and all of this. And I used to admire them to be able to do this. I would go to their sessions and they knew exactly how to connect with their crowd. But what I noticed was that their slides were kind of iffy, like they weren't too great. And I thought, you know what? Let me do something about those slides because they're doing such an amazing job presenting, connecting with all these students. I spoke to my director and said, do you think I can change things up? We'll surprise everyone. And I'll change up the slides and make it look good so they look good. And she's like, yeah, go for it. Do it. So it took a couple of weeks. I started working on that. And we had this full-day strategy event. And she's like, present it to them there. And I said, but what about you? Aren't you going to be there? She's like, yeah, I have a lot of meetings, but I think you'll be great. Go ahead, do it. So I said, I was excited. I got all these slides ready. I went there. Then it was my turn to present. And when I presented, of course, I thought, well, I'm going to get applause. They're going to love it. They're going to feel good about it. They're going to say, good job, Sheetal. You did half the job for us. Like, we've been wanting to update these slides for a long time. But there were crickets. And instead of them being happy about it, they were actually really pissed. And I could not, for the life of me, understand what just happened. And as I looked around the room, and I'm now sweating bricks here, right? I'm presenting, and I'm looking at my audience, I'm looking at my peers, I'm looking at my colleagues. There's no reaction. And I'm trying to be excited while I'm presenting this. I didn't know what I did wrong. A few days passed. And then I get called to the director's room. And there were sitting one of my colleagues who was complaining about what I had just done and said, those were lousy presentations. Who does she think she is? Why did she do that? And how could you give her permission? We've been doing this for years. So she felt insulted. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was I was told in my face I was the worst presenter ever that they had ever seen in their life. And I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming, because in my mind, I knew my stuff. I'm going to go there. I'm going to present. I don't need to prepare. I got this. I didn't got this. It didn't work out. So what ended up happening, I sat there literally frozen, my hands cold, sitting with the director. Now, she knows me better than most of my colleagues, so she knew it will be fine, you'll be fine, I know you, you'll do a great job. My colleagues, on the other hand, were not too happy. And they're like, no, she should have come to us first and presented it. And then, we would have sat together and given her feedback. But my intention was never to make anyone feel bad about it or make anyone feel that they were not doing their job. And it had to take a lot of clarifying to make that happen. Some people just feel like it's, everything and everyone's against them. So I apologized profusely to all my colleagues. And I said, listen, this was never my intention. In fact, I thought I was helping. But apparently I wasn't. And at that moment, I thought to myself, and it wasn't so much so about the slides, it was the fact that they said I was such a lousy presenter. That day I had decided that I was never going to present again. That this was it. I'm going to go back to my little cubicle. I'm going to do my numbers because that's what I'm good at and that's what I get praised for and that's what people like me for, and that's about it. I'm not going to do it beyond that. Until 6 weeks later, my director comes to my office and she says, hey, guess what? We're thinking of doing a team building with the entire team. I said, great. She's like, yeah, but we don't have the budget. I said, well, we have enough trainers amongst us. I'm sure one or two of them could figure something out, come up with some activities, and, we'll have a fun day out. She's like, yeah, that's a really good idea. That's exactly what I was thinking about. I said, perfect. She's like, yeah, do it. Make it happen. I was like, wait, me? You want me to do this? She's like, yeah, I want you to do this. I'm like, excuse me, do you remember what happened 6 weeks ago? Like, they were literally ready to bite my head off. She's like, yeah, I remember. Then why are you having me do this? She's like, because I know you and you'll figure it out. I'm like, you're literally throwing me to the sharks, right? And apparently I was just about 3 months away from leaving that job. She knew about it at the time. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm quitting anyway, so who cares? Right? I was like, fine. She's like, no, look, think about it. And let me know tomorrow if this is something you want to do. So I could not sleep that night because I knew what was going to happen. I'm going to go there, I'm going to present, I'm going to completely be butchered, and they're going to say, why don't you just leave today? Why wait for 3 months, right? So I thought, okay, if I'm going to be thrown in the shark's den, then let me be prepared for the shark to bite my head off. So I said, yes, let's do this. Now, I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if they were going to love it because the first time round, I loved it. They didn't. There wasn't a single person in the room who said, good job. In fact, they say, you really need to work on this. And I spent a few days, a few weeks. I tried to figure things out. I tried to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What do they like? Believe you me, I wasn't getting anything out of them because guess what? I wasn't the favorite person at the time. And I spent a lot of time in my office busy crunching numbers. So, the big day comes. I planned the activities. I planned the team building, which I had never done in my life before. This was the first time. And I thought to myself, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to absolutely hate me even more. And it's just going to get even worse than it was the first time round. And I might as well leave now, like they said. Or they might just be okay with it. I didn't think beyond that. But let's just see what happens. So the day comes, and I'm thinking, man, this is their only team building. And she decided to put me in front, like the person they probably didn't want to see. Imagine putting yourself in that situation, right? And we got to the location. Everyone's excited. The food came. We're having breakfast. I'm the quietest one in the room. I'm looking around and I'm feeling this tension because everyone's eyes are on me. And I could literally feel them like, yeah, you're going to totally screw up our day. Right? I could feel that from them. And as they all walked inside, we finally went inside. I grabbed the director. I pulled her in. And I was like, why me? Why are you making me do this? Like, it doesn't even make sense. You know, you're putting me in a place where they're just gonna hate me even more. And then she said, what if they love you more? I said, yeah, but I'm not the best person for the job. I mean, they're professionals. They're experienced. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this for years. I just got here a few years ago. I have never done this. And she told me that made so much sense. And she says, well, because I don't want to see them. I've seen them. I know them. I know what they're capable of. But it's time that you show what you're capable of. Because I want to see Sheetal. I don't want to see Rachel. I don't want to see Nancy. I don't want to see Susan. I want to see Sheetal. You don't have to be like Rachel or like Nancy because they do XYZ. You just have to be you. And as she spoke that to me, I started tearing up. I started crying and I was like, all right, let's show them who Sheetal is. So I walked in, I did my thing, and mind you, this was an 8-hour program. Imagine, we can't keep someone's attention for 5 minutes. I had to keep their attention for 8 hours. I go in, I did my thing. 8 hours later, as I walk out, every single person in that room gave me the biggest hugs ever. I was like, wait, what just happened? What is this? And yes, we were having fun. I saw them having fun, laughing, cracking jokes. And in my mind, I'm like, are they making this up? Are they really having fun? Or are they just, pretending like they're having fun? You're not sure. And then they all came up to me. They gave me these hugs. Oh my God, this was amazing. This was so much fun. And that one person, you remember that one person who criticized me and said, never do this again? She came up to me and she apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry. I underestimated you. And what you did in there today, she's like, I have so much respect for you. You have no idea. She's like, you turned the whole thing around. We did not expect you to do that. I'm like, I didn't expect me to do that either. Right? I needed that pep talk before I walked in because I had no idea what I was doing. And that day was the first team building I ever did. And 15 years later, I have done 100 more. That was just the beginning of my new career as an entrepreneur because that day I decided that this was what I was going to do for I don't know how many years. I knew I was coming back to Suriname 3 months after, and the moment I came back, I started the company doing exactly this, training, coaching, team building, and whatnot. And I was even teaching full-time at FHR, and if I tell my students this story, they usually don't believe me. But in any case, failures are not always failures. Failures defined you, and that was a turning point in my life. I could have sat in my office when the director came to me and asked me to do that event, and say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go back in there. This is not for me. I can't do this. This is just not me. But instead, I don't know what got into me where I decided to do the opposite. I said, fine. You want me to do it? I'll do it. I know I'm being thrown in the shark's den, so let me be prepared in such a way that they don't bite my head off and they don't come after me. What do I need to do? So I did all of that, prepared for that. So you can let your failures define you, or you can define what your next steps are going to be. And that day defined what my next career was going to be. And I'm never going to forget that day in my life. That the way I screwed up the first time and messed up and didn't talk to my colleagues and acted like I knew what I was talking about, I wasn't prepared. I didn't prepare. I just went there and did my thing. And then I did the complete opposite, where I realized that I can't just walk in a room and expect people to listen to me when I have zero experience in what I'm doing, right? Instead, I said, let me prepare. What's the worst that could happen? They'll think I'm okay, but at least I was prepared. So when failure comes up, realize that it could actually be an opportunity and not a failure. An opportunity to grow, an opportunity to your next big thing, and who knows what else. And that, my friends, concludes my talk for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. That was quite a story. Don't let your failures define you. Oh, and you're quite on time as well. Vragen uit de zaal. Oké, laat maar hier staan, want ik sta in het licht, dus ik zie jullie niet. Here.
Hi, Sheetal.
Hi.
I'm curious, did you ever go back to the institute to have another team building, like when you opened your company? Did you do team buildings for them again?
Not yet. I did go back multiple times. They're all following me on LinkedIn. They're all seeing what I do. They follow me on Facebook now. I keep getting messages from all my ex-colleagues about what I'm doing. And they're like, yeah, after that day, we knew that this was, you set your path. This was it. So, yeah. But no, I haven't gone back and done that. I've gone back and met them multiple times. Every time I went back to Miami. But they see what I do online.
Yeah, I would have gone back just to show off.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for this inspirational story. I can imagine that for team building activities, you also have to be very creative. So I'm wondering, were there any instances in your personal life or in your previous jobs where you had to be creative that have actually led to basically the career that you have now?
Well, if we're talking about creativity, I do love fun and games. I love to paint. I've danced in my life, so I would call all of that being creative. And for me, bringing the fun element to a group of very serious people. Any PhDs in the room? Yeah? No. Okay. No. They can get very serious and very academic. So sometimes they forget to have fun. And for me, that day, it was important for me to help them loosen up. Also because of the seriousness of the previous experience. It wasn't, they were looking for the academics behind it, the research, the theory, and this and that, and I wasn't prepared for that. But this was a team building, which I had to use something that we all learned as practitioners within the organization and bring fun activities to it. But to the point that I got a compliment from at least 2 or 3 of them that when they did the same practitioner course, I was more fun than that teacher. So that was a compliment in itself. So I think sometimes people forget to have fun. And I realized that with my colleagues. So I had to come up with, creative activities to ensure that we were all having a blast. And the focus was on them. It was not about me. It was all about them.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Nog meer vragen uit de zaal? Mensen, ze mogen ook gewoon in het Nederlands, hè? Dus
Ja.
laat u niet intimideren
I
door de
understand Dutch, by the way. I speak a lot of English, very little Dutch. I speak Douglish, so it's okay.
Well, while they're thinking about their next question, I have a question.
Sure.
What do you think you should have done differently the first time?
I should have been more prepared. I shouldn't have assumed that because I created the slides, I could just show up and present. I was not an experienced presenter, so I definitely didn't do any preparation there. But I also thought I was talking to my friends, my colleagues who I thought liked me, but they shed very different light after that day. So, indeed, although my director gave me the green light, that was it. She just said, "Yeah, go ahead, do it. I know how you get things done." I think I should have gone to them as well, discussed it with them if that was something they wanted. But funny thing that even though there was so much criticism about those slides, they used them anyway.
Humans. Ah, yes.
Ik heb nog een vraag
Ja.
voor u. Na 15 jaar, zoveel teambuilding sessies. Heb je ooit het gevoel dat you run out of ideas or something? Hoe kom je steeds op iets nieuws? Ook omdat er zoveel andere bedrijven inmiddels zijn die teambuilding sessies doen. Krijg je als ondernemer ooit de angst van... wat als ik niet meer leuk genoeg ben? Of wat als, if they get bored na al die jaren?
I think I have this belief, and it's a saying from Tony Robbins, where focus goes, energy flows. And I think it's what you focus on. I've never focused on that I would run out of ideas, or they'll find me boring, or they'll not find me interesting. In fact, I think the opposite. I'll come up with the ideas. I'll find ways to make things happen. The beauty is that we have so many different industries. So, and in fact, being in Suriname, I have to sometimes improv a lot of things because I could have planned certain activities, but the energy in the room will tell me something else. And then the energy in the room will then make me decide, okay, now this doesn't fit. I'm going to do this instead. And my focus is always fun, enjoyment, team bonding, growth, and support for each other. And because that's my focus, that's usually what the results are. So I think where focus goes, energy flows. It's what you focus on.
Zijn er nog vragen vanuit de zaal voor Sheetal?
Hey, Mr. John.
Hi.
Do you use that event that happened or like the experience that happened to you as a catalyst for when things go wrong?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes, it's
Like,
a constant
consciously.
reminder of being prepared, but also finding my balance and having fun. You can't, sometimes people are over prepared and then they go blank.
Yeah.
Ever been in that situation? I'm sure you have. You prepare so much and we go through analysis paralysis. We think so much, we forget everything that we need to do. So I have to find that balance. This is why my company is called Lybra Balance. Everything's about balance. So with that focus in mind, I know I need to do that. And indeed, I do. This is a story that's always on my mind that remember that time. Okay, don't be too overconfident. Don't be too funny or fun. Find your balance. Read the room so you know what you need to do. And, things usually work out.
Another one, a last one. Was it the worst that happened to you? The worst fuck up that happened to you?
The one that I could think of, yes.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I don't live in the past. So when they asked me to do this, I was like, as you can tell, I don't use the word human. When they asked me to do this, I was like, wow, I have to dig, like really, really dig. But because this is a story that's always fresh in my mind, and I knew that was a big deal because I knew that if one bad decision, as in me not deciding to actually take on that challenge, I wouldn't be standing here right now at all. And all those other sessions I've done in the last 15 years. So for me, that story is big.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Nog één laatste vraag uit de zaal. Daarachter.
Goedenavond.
Good evening.
Als ik het goed heb, u komt uit Amerika. Heeft u daar gewoond in Amerika?
I've lived there, yes.
En u bent gekomen in Suriname en u werkt hier zo in Suriname. Maar wat heeft ervoor gezorgd dat u bent gekomen in Suriname? Want Amerika is een grote land. It's the land of opportunities. Ik bedoel, u kon daar zo Heel veel succesboeken natuurlijk. Maar wat heeft ervoor gezorgd dat u naar Suriname bent gekomen en hier een bedrijf wilde starten?
Multiple reasons. The love of my life is from here. I met him while we were in Miami, and when we decided what were we going to do or where we were going to go. He wasn't living in Suriname at the time, he was living in Brussels. And when we had to decide where we would want to live after marriage, we decided Suriname. My parents live here, his parents live here. Our children now grow up here. It just felt like the perfect thing. And it allowed us to give back to Suriname because for me, Suriname is so close to my heart. I've lived here longer than anywhere else. This is why I speak Douglas, guys. Yeah, I do understand the language, right? But coming back here, no matter the situation, zero regrets. I love Suriname. This is my home. I met the love of my life. I got married here. I had my children here. I have my business here. I can't imagine being anywhere else. So
That was
Thank
a
you so
great
much.
ending. Thank you so much, Sheetal, for your inspiring words.